Hey garage heads! Today I'm going to show you how to remove a rear axle featuring what's left of my 1986 one-ton Toyota pickup. I'm back in the garage this week messing around with what's left of the 86 one-ton, which is quite rusty, and it's time to remove the rear axle. Some of the one-ton pickups had the dually rear and some had the single rear, which is kind of a unique axle. It uses the same third member as the four-wheel drive 8-inch rear axle, but instead of a 6-lug, it's 5-lug. 5 by 114.3, which is the bolt pattern on all the half-ton two-wheel drive pickups, except that they had the weaker 7.5-inch rear axle. So this axle will be a nice upgrade for a two-wheel drive half-ton. First, I'm going to crack the lug nuts loose because it's easy while the axle is still attached to the truck. Next, I need to get the drive shaft out of the way. This truck has a 2-piece drive shaft. I already have the center bearing carrier loosened up. It's attached with 2 bolts. Look at that rotted rubber bushing. I removed 3 of the 4 drive shaft bolts already, and here's the last one. U-joint feels good. I saved these bolts. Always good to have a couple extra sets for off-roading. Now, I'm just gonna slide it off the mounting bracket, and it's free. That bushing isn't just rotted, it is completely destroyed. If you need help replacing the drive shaft center support bearing, I've already made a video for that, and I'll put a link in the description. Emergency brake cables. The two-wheel drive trucks have one on each side. The four-wheel drive just has one on the right side that splits at the rear axle. So these guys just pop out like this. Pretty simple. Grab some vice grips. On the cross member behind the cab, there are clips holding the cables to the frame. Then the cable will slide right out. Here's the one on the passenger side. It's on the opposite side since the gas tank is in the way. On the driver's side frame, normally I'd have to unbolt this. But here in Ohio, rust can actually speed things up once in a while. There's one in the same place on the passenger side. It's right between the frame and the gas tank. Right here. A ratcheting wrench definitely speeds things up here. This one isn't rusted like the driver's side. There's another cable mount at the front of the leaf spring, same as the last one. Over on the driver's side, rust coming through again to make life easier. I didn't even need tools here. With the parking brake cables disconnected, the next thing to do is disconnect the rear brake line from the axle. It follows the passenger side of the frame. Here's a T-fitting here, which goes up to the proportioning valve. Now this should have a long rod going to the axle, and based on how much the rear squats from cargo load, more or less pressure is applied to the rear brakes. That rod has rusted away. And the frame where the valve attached also rusted away. Do you think when the previous owner had to zip tie this valve back on because it rusted off, do you think he ever considered that the frame was dangerously rusty at that point? Nah, this guy was a gambler for sure. The brake lines on the axle are good, so I'll keep those intact. The line is all rusted up at the valve, so I'm only going to loosen it down at the T-fitting. Good old vice grips are a great way to get that started. Since the top of the rubber line was rusted to the valve, the rubber line got all twisted and bunched up when I was turning the fitting to loosen it. So I just cut the rubber line. I went in for some lunch while the brake fluid drained from the line. We should be good to go now. I didn't want to cut the rubber line, but it's over 30 years old at this point and should probably be replaced anyways. The metal hard lines are all newer and more work to replace, so I'm keeping those in one piece. This whole load leveling valve is junk at this point. I'm going to take off the shocks now. That was easy. Now let's see if the leaf springs are going to cooperate. Well, that's a good sign. I'm putting the frame on jack stands to drop the leaf springs, and I'm not sure what's going to happen when I lower the jack, since the frame is so rusty. Ooh, crunch! Did you guys see that flex? Right where the tube runs across, the bottom of the frame buckled in. I think that aluminum bed was holding this frame together. So my plan here is to unbolt the leaf springs there, up there, and here and there, and just roll the whole rear axle out from beneath the frame. I'd get the U-bolts loose and just drop the rear of the springs and roll out the axle without the springs, but I really don't want to be under this frame, or what's left of it. First, I had to get the gas tank out of the way. Of course, those bolts were rusted, so I cut the rear mounting bracket. Now I'm going to loosen the nuts and bolts that hold on the rear shackle. There's a rubber bushing in there with the metal sleeve, and I'm betting it's all rusted together since the bolt didn't spin at all when I loosened that nut. Nope. So I'll try the lower shackle bolt instead. It's not looking any better. Hammer time! Okay, one more try on the top bolt. Nope. The bolt is completely seized in the bushing. This bolt goes through the bushing and should tap right out. Maybe if this truck was from the Southwest. The front bolts are just as bad. Both sides are seized in the bushing. So this is not going as planned. You saw what should happen here. Those bolts should slide right out, allowing me to pull the leaf spring aside, and they don't because they're completely rusted together and the bushing is toast, and there's really no point in saving any of this. If this truck did have a good frame, I obviously wouldn't do what I'm about to do, but your only other option here is to burn out the bushing. If your frame is good, go that route, but my frame is toast, so because that's the way we do things here in Ohio. Nothing is easy. The nut on the lower shackle on the driver's side is actually crumbling away. My videos would seriously be like half as long if I didn't have to deal with rust. I might not even need to cut this front driver's side. And they drove this on the road. Look at that. It's like a mouth. Feed me. It's barely hanging on by a string. There we go. Pull these brake line cables through the frame. There's what's left. The bed was literally holding the frame together. This 86 1-ton is by far the worst Yoda I've had in terms of rust. Taking the title away from my old 86 4x4 I had back in 2011. I have a video breaking the frame on that truck. I'll put a link in the description. That was 8 years ago, before I got decent at YouTube videos, so pardon the quality on that one. Well, time to finish getting the rest of this rusty junk off the axle. Oh, hey, piece of frame. I soaked these threads with lube. They're pretty rusty. Worst case scenario, I could cut the U-bolts with a cutoff wheel, but I'll try and show you the regular way first. They came off, but it took a while. All this was to remove one nut, and there were 4 on each side. Last one here. That took forever. There it is, a G28 code Toyota axle. G28 means 8-inch with a 430 gear ratio, and of course the 5x114.3 bolt pattern instead of the 6-lug pattern. This will be a great rear to use on an LS SWAT 2-wheel drive. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more updates on my Toyota collection and other projects here at the 6th Gear Garage.